Games, board games. I might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. No, 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 I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And today I will speak maybe for an hour about a game I'm making with Tiz. It's called Seize the Power, and we have emerged in some sort of locks where we have combined forces with inside the box, and Rose is and Luke is helping to develop this game, and with love it will envelop. Anyway, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games. I'm not going to shout. So good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. It's 10 a.m. UK time for Busy Beats and Board Game Bladder. Today I'm talking about how is Seize the Power going, and Tiz might be coming along a little bit later in maybe half an hour. And what is Seize the Power? It is, the keywords are discriminatory rules, bigotry, subjugation of power, and negotiation. So the discriminatory rules are at the heart of the game, and that is what the game is about. The game is about these rules that you control as players. And so it might say, oh, everyone gets 1 extra money at the start of their turn for every eye that you have. But some creatures have 1 eye, some creatures have 2 eyes. We changed that. Some creatures might currently have like 5 or 7 eyes, maybe it'll even go higher. And then if you control that rule, will you enact it? Will you say to them, well, you should be getting 5 money, but how about you give 2 of it to me and at least you'll still get 3 money. At least, it's a win-win. And then it becomes a game about that subjugation of power and that bribery, because it emerges that the person who wins isn't always the person who has the most eyes and eye stalks and the arms, which in this game are the things that you get advantage. All the rules benefit you if you've got more eyes, more arms, and eye stalks. But it's also about being in control of those rules. It's whoever has those rules is going to be able to control the flow of the game and maybe give people something to do. So that is super important. Hello, Timmy. It is lovely to see you, and I hope that you are generally well. Let's talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. What have been some of your recent highlights? Let me know. Lemon-flavored, effervescent vitamin pills in water. Recent highlights. Yesterday I got contacted by someone, asked me if I wanted to meet up for lunch. I didn't see it until a wee bit later, and so I was like, yeah, it would be lovely to have a late lunch. They'd already had lunch, but they invited me out for a tea, and had a matcha latte and a cake from a lovely place. It was, broke my diet, had a bit of sugar, but it was so lovely, and I really appreciated it. It was caramel and chocolate and praline, like the hazelnut kind of gooey and like the soft cake. It was so good. So having that bought for me, which ties into your iced coffee. Hello, Alex. It's lovely to see you. So we've both enjoyed consuming things, and met someone, had the chat, wandered around, did a bit of writing, did a bit of pondering, saw the ducks. Yeah, I enjoy seeing the waterfowl, and actually for the first time in the park, I saw some big fish. I imagined that there would be little fish in there because there needs to be something for the birds to grab, although like I also thought they might be grabbing worms or whatever, but then these were like big fish, like this size, literally. Literally they were about this size, and there were like 5 or 6 of them, and then they were just swimming around and minding their own business. And then there was a little duck beside, and the duck was kind of like, wow, these fish are way too big for me. I have no idea what to do here. Because like the fish were like twice as big as the duck. Maybe not twice as big, maybe like 170% the size of the duck. You know, I'm not a person for exaggeration, but like these were really big fish. And then, in the evening, having a chat with Dave from Canada on their stream, that was lovely. And arranging for people to come over today. And also, I should say that even though I've not quite finalized the schedule, I've gotten a few more people lined up for episode 700. We are going to have possibly T, who's done some work for HABA and is doing some amazing stuff in the USA, and like, as well as people from like all sorts of amazing people. But let's move on to brilliant thing. Actually, have you got any questions for me about? Sure, you can ask about Seize the Power. If you've got any questions about discrimination or bigotry, I normally don't allow questions about discrimination or bigotry because it can get really touchy. But this whole show, that's what this is about. So as long as it's respectful, go ahead and ask questionably quick questions. It's the next section. It's not an interrogation. It's just the questionably quick questions section. So while you're thinking of that, my brilliant thing for today is tomato juice. Although I think I've already mentioned tomato juice, but I'm going to say relatively fresh tomato juice. I mean, from concentrates, it's okay, and it's got like a bit of extra thickness, but like the relatively fresh tomato juice, which is what this bottle used to be, it's just like a bit zingier. It feels a bit nicer, and it feels a bit healthier, and also, tomato juice, low in calories. So, do I like bulgogi? Yes, I love Korean food. I love, pretty much all food, to be honest, which is why I need to have an extreme diet to realign my chakras. But I love Thai food. I love Japanese food. I love, I like French food. I don't love it. I like French food. I like some German food, maybe that's actually why I'm going to Asia, because I like Asian food a lot more. Like, as you go from Turkey, it starts to become good, and then, Iranian food, that's really good. Yeah, Marrakesh, I think, so yes, absolutely, I do enjoy bulgogi. If I was a cool drink, what cool drink would I be? I'm thinking a Virgin Mary. It's like tomato juice, so it's got the red. It's got like a bit of spiciness, a good amount of Tabasco, again with the red, and because I'm a bit zingy. And, I would have maybe 6 or 7 ice cubes, but I'd be like the biggest glass. I wouldn't just be a normal size glass. I'd be like a crazy big glass, because like I'm just a bit full on. And so that is the drink that I would be. And hello, Jay Folsgaard. It is lovely to see you, and I hope that you are all well. So yes, going from tomato juice to tomato juice, brilliant thing. Tabasco sauce, also a brilliant thing. Let's get to the main topic. Seize the power. If you've heard me speak about Seize the Power, then I do apologize. I'm going to reiterate some of the points. If you've not heard me talk about Seize the Power before, hopefully this is interesting. And as always, please do feel free to comment and ask questions. I've got fun like following that thing. I mean, obviously, I want you to fun like follow, but I mean, honestly, the more pertinent thing for me is, just chatting to you. So, and if you can keep me chatting for half an hour, then Tiz will hopefully come. So what is seize the power? I was talking about the discriminatory rules. Players are in charge of these rules. You decide whether it happens. What do you do on your turn? Well, first of all, you look around the table and you see what rules you can use. Maybe there's a rule that gives you some money. Maybe there's a rule that gives you some money for your arms. Maybe there's a rule that gives you some money for your eyes or money for your eye stalks. Maybe there's a rule where you get some education or you get some bonus some other way. Maybe there's, and these rules don't cost any actions, they just happen. You just need the permission of whoever controls the rule. And that's the key thing. Like, if someone controls the rule and then they say, oh, well, you can use it, but only if you give me your house. You could say that. You can trade anything in this game except for your actual physical person. Like, this is the physical person you are. You have this many arms and eyes and eye stalks. You can't trade that. And you can't trade your employability, which was previously called education. So I apologize for confusing those terms. But you can't trade employability, you can't trade your physical body, but you can trade anything else. You can trade your house, which is a new thing. You can trade your money. You can trade the rules that you are in control of. And that's pretty much all the resources. It started from a place where we actually had more resources going on. We had energy. We had the money, we had the employability, and it was a bit much. Like, kind of saying, okay, this action costs this many energy, this action costs this much energy, and you've got up to this maximum of this many actions, and then at the end, you pay money for this stuff. But I've kind of taken that away and replaced it with housing, and the housing says, you have 2 actions. Or one of them might even say you have 3 actions. But then with the housing, you need to pay every turn. And the actions which used to have like 1 or 2 or 3 energy to be able to do them, well, now if you want to support someone else in the revolution, it's just a case of, I will raise my fist, I will join you. But then the interesting thing is, it's still not trivial to get people to join the revolution. On your turn, I never actually explained this. What do you do? Well, you can buy a house, which might get you on the property ladder, might get you extra actions. You can get a job, which might get you more employability, because if you've got a job, people might prefer to give you a job. And also, once you've got a job, you can then do the job. You can do the job, like I just mentioned. I mean, doing the job then gets you money for doing the job. Sometimes, as part of the job, you've got to give other people advantages or pass money or train other people, which is interesting. Or you can do a revolution, and that's pretty much it. If you do a revolution, you want to do a revolution only if you are have less money and less power and stuff, and then it will redistribute money and rules according to make things a bit more fair. Hello, Jess. Says, I'm on an airplane, so I'll need to go into flight mode. Well, I'm surprised that you are even watching, but I hope you have a lovely trip. Lots of love, and love to you. Anyway, so once you've done this turn, it goes round. There is a massive benefit on being first. And then the person who is first goes like, boom, I've got the best house. Boom, I've got the best job. And yes, lots of love. And, once you've got your rule, every turn there, once it's the second round, every turn there's an auction for a rule. It's the simplest auction that you can have. Just some secret money. Whoever bid the most gets that rule. Whoever didn't bid the most gets all their money back. That's pretty much the game. You win, or at least 3 weeks ago, you won by having the being the first person to 5 rules. That's something we'll get to in a minute. Alex says, it reminds me of historical war games. A lot of them are purposefully unbalanced to enable a more realistic version of the conflict it's simulating. In those cases, the determining factor is not necessarily outright victory, but how much better or worse you did compared to the historical outcome. And yeah, I think that's an interesting point. And we used to have asymmetric winning goals. We used to have it so that Am would have to get loads of money, and Finnemore, by the way, the alphabet, so like the later a letter you starts with, the worse you are. I mean, yeah, it's Am is better than Bez. So in this game, Alex is better than Bez, and both of them are better than Jess, and Jess is better than Johan. I'm sorry, Johan. And Timmy is worse. This is like really messed up, but yeah, it's a simple way to say, yeah, poor Zoe. Exactly. Literally. Anyway, so back in the day, back when it was submitted to inside the box, we had asymmetric goals, and the worst character had to do things that were slightly easier. So the worst character essentially had to do things which were about getting a little bit of money or having any job, whereas the best character might have to, you know, win an auction with a certain amount, or might have to like double the amount of money they start with, or triple it, or they might have to give a gift to someone, and that might be one of their objectives, to give gifts to people. Now, when it came to now play this, I got rid of those secret objectives. It felt like that was unnecessary for at least a game that in a gallery setting you would play probably once. But going back to a game setting, I was thinking, yeah, this is actually surprisingly good. Finnemore is sometimes able to win. And Peter was like really unsure about it, and the other thing to note was that there was no longer any secrecy. There was full information except for the order of objects of rules that would come out in the deck, and that wasn't enough randomness to inject a lot of hope. And for the last round of the game, it would be a case of, well, if that person does that, then that person will do this, and that person, and then they will have enough money to win the auction. But then if they outbid, then we can pool enough money to beat them at the auction. And so you could sort of calculate it from a round before, and that's not great when it's so calculable. So from Peter Blenkhorn's perspective, those were brought back in. We brought back in secret objectives to make it so that different people could win. But from my perspective, the reason that they actually work well for the game is they bring a bit of uncertainty into it. And when you are negotiating, negotiations kind of break down if you have, well, in the real world, if you have full information, then you can make the fairest thing possible, which is fantastic. But for a game which is about unfairness, you want that little bit of asymmetric, not only power, but also information. And so it might be like, now the secret objectives aren't even imbalanced. Well, they are perfectly equal, which means that the characters are now properly imbalanced. So maybe one character, they all get 1 point per rule that they have. And the game finishes when the rules run out. That's what we've currently done. But then maybe one character gets points for their neighbors having stuff. Maybe one character gets extra points for money. Maybe one character gets extra points for employability. Maybe another one gets extra points for, you know, people next to them having employability. And so there's this secondary source of points That means that you're not exactly sure what's going on, and maybe this person's got that to do, maybe they don't. And so that's a new thing from last time I played it when I went over to the office. Tiz currently has the game. Tiz has played it more recently than me, and we'll be exploring that. Hello, Xate. It is lovely to see you, and I hope that you're generally well. I'm just talking about Seize the Power. If you've got any questions about it, then please do ask, as always. I mean, yeah, I hope you always know that questions are very welcome as long as they're respectful. And Tiz might be joining me in 15 minutes. We will see. So, we talked a wee bit about the main change that's been made. And with that change applied, we did play a 5-player game. And the 5-player game took, I think, like 55 minutes. So I'm very happy with that. And how is development going? It's going. It's definitely moving in a positive direction. Every month since Now Play This, I felt like, wow, we've improved this. We've made a bit of, every time we meet up, we have a good chat. We discover more ways to improve the game, getting rid of the overcomplicated options, bringing back these new things. And when I was with Tiz, after our meeting with ITB, we talked about some sort of bot where maybe the bot just gets an employability every turn and then gets the best job that they can and then does all their jobs and gets all the money and are trying to dominate and have all the power. And can they have all the power? I don't know. But what would that look like? And so we had a rough idea for something that we're going to properly explore today. What changes have actually been made recently? So I'm not talking about this cooperative solo mode, but talking about this like within the main game. Well, it's this bringing back this secret goals, the secret objectives. And interestingly, the secret objectives make it more asymmetric, because previously it was like, oh, poor Finnemore, they've only got like 2 rules. Well, it doesn't matter if Finnemore gets a bit more money. So yeah, Finnemore's still being disadvantaged by the rules. That means that Finnemore only gets 2 money and Am gets like 7 money, but Finnemore can use the negotiation saying, oh, would you give me a bit of extra money and I promise to vote with that, or I promise to do a revolution for you? And yeah, so those secret goals mean that everyone's now a little bit more scared of even the lower characters, because I don't know what you want. I don't know what the person next to me wants. And so you can't ever just give them as much charity, which I think is kind of interesting. So yeah, that's how it's been changed. Xate says, I do rather miss my rhythmic sound machine. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I know it's a joke from the winky face, but generally not sure what you mean. What will we be doing today? Today it is, and I will be okay. Aqua is the rhythmic sound machine. Fair enough. So today we will be chatting about what's happened, and I guess we'll probably do a bit of brainstorming. We will think about more asymmetric goals. I'm assuming that we'll, wander around, discuss ideas, maybe have a walk and discuss ideas, maybe, do a chat and discuss ideas, maybe write down ideas and discuss ideas. And yeah, we'll do that. We'll also do some actual playtesting of the solo mode. We'll kind of make something and we'll see if it works, because I think it could work. And even though, look, 1 to 3 players is never going to be the game. For Seize the Power, you need at least 4 players to play it. That's just the way it is. I think that probably 4 to 6 is like the game. Like 5 is, in my opinion, better than 4 now that we've simplified it and it's fairly shorter and tighter. I've not played it with 7, but like I would really be keen to, like, I don't know how high it could go. I would be really interested to play it with 8, frankly. I mean, will 8 players last for 3 hours? I don't know, but it would be interesting to definitely find out. I would really like to try that. And yeah, maybe we'll get a chance next week when I take it over somewhere. Now, with this, but the point is, with a negotiation game, 1 to 3 players, that's never really going to have the same negotiation aspects. But you can have a bot that kind of competes along the same directions and is kind of like the game. It tells you about the game, but even though it's not the game, I think that being able to put on the box 4 to 7 with a variant 1 to 3, at least you'll get a chance to play a variant. Even if you don't get to play the game, you get to play something that alludes to the game, and then or maybe you play it solo and you're kind of playing it solo just to learn it, and then it's at least a way that you can prepare for when you play it with 4 players. But yeah, I am aware that 4+ players is not the most flexible player count, but it just feels like the way, yeah, I mean, I've played it 3 players and it kind of works, but yeah, negotiation games are never as good 3 players. I mean, let me know if you agree with me. I mean, I know there's lots of negotiation games that kind of work 3 players, but a lot of them do kind of feel like they break down. I think that the hidden information will help against that, and I do think that a better player will typically win. But yeah, let me know what you think about negotiation games at lower player counts. Alex, regarding the mention of the rhythmic sound machine, Alex says, I did warn you of the snoring. Sate responds, I do genuinely miss you. It's lovely to see the love, and lots of love to both of you. And I hope you're both generally well. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk about before Tiz gets here? Is there anything that you would like to ask me before Tiz gets here? Let me move forward to question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. Oh, and I completely forgot to talk about the Puerto Rico palaver. But my question of the day is twofold. Firstly, what are your favorite negotiation games? And secondly, what are your favorite games that try to make a statement, that try to effect change, even in a small way? I think that for me, my favorite negotiation game would be I'm the Boss. Yeah, and like there it's like, yeah, you need a big player count, and then it's like roll the dice, and maybe the game ends, maybe it doesn't. Okay, here's the deal, and then I'm able to play, you're able to play, but then, oh, here's a card, I'm able to impersonate that person. Oh, well, I'm the boss, now I'm taking over the deal, and then you distribute the money however you want, and the money gets bigger and bigger as time goes on, and I'm the boss. I think it's, actually, no, I'm going to take that back. My favorite negotiation game is Tifatashen. And that's an interesting thing, because the negotiation, like, according to the rules of the game, there doesn't need to be any negotiation. One person could just split the thing, and then everyone else has to either accept or not accept. That's all you can do. And like Tea for Taschen, I think, is a stronger game. But if you are playing at a convention with people that you don't know, it can be a really quick, like 15-minute game, but then you don't get any of the table talk negotiation, which is the joy of it. Whereas I'm the boss, the interesting thing is that it forces you, because you can probably only, like, the deals typically require more than just one person to get involved. It'll be a situation where this person could get involved or this person could get involved. And so they are bidding against each other until the point where, well, no, there's no point in us bidding against each other. Now that person's getting too good a deal. And so, yeah, I'm the boss where you need the other person to be involved. I think the negotiation is stronger, but Tea for Taschen, overall better. As for games that are trying to make a statement, I will go with Spirit's Island. Spirit's Island being an anti-colonial game, and it doesn't bash you over the head with it, but it's just like, hey, people are invading this, and there are people already here. There are people coming to the island, but there are people already here, and the people already here aren't happy with this. And you play one of the spirits, and the spirit's helping the people trying to make it good. Alex says, I think there's a dynamic lost in negotiation games with fewer players, unless the objectives are complementary in some cases and divergent in others. That's an interesting point. I would like to hear what you mean by that. Like, how would complementary or divergent goals add to the negotiation? I guess, yeah, if you have two people who have shared objectives, then maybe they can work together. Is that the kind of thing you mean? Or maybe if people have divergent things, then you can say, okay, well, I'll help you with your thing and you'll help me with my thing. Is that the kind of thing that you're talking about? Where, okay, so like Article 27, I've not played that. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It didn't work well. I mean, I'm just reading it. Maybe I'm reading too much into the words you picked. But yeah, like Seize the Power, it works all right with free. Like, I played it with Chris and McCall, and we had a good evening. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. It's like a bit long. It's not like they wanted to play it straight away again. But they were like, yeah, I'd play that again. But yeah, I'd personally far prefer to play it with 5. I've never played it with 6. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'll definitely check out Article 27. I'm going to make a note of that. Article 27, Board Game Geek. The UN Security Council game. Is that the one you mean? Done by Stronghold Games in 2012. Is that the game you mean? Could we introduce a dummy player? Yeah, but like that doesn't add to the negotiation. I think it's just, it's a lesser experience, and that's the thing. Like, at different player counts, some games are going to be better, some games are going to be worse, and that's probably okay. Now, I am wondering where Tiz is, and if I should actually just finish up the stream, because, yeah, this is all I have to say, unless you have... Oh, Tiz is going to be a bit late, more like 11. Accidentally took the wrong train. Okay. Well, I guess I am winding up then. J. Guard says, negotiation games are hard to make. Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is that if it's a negotiation game, it has to be about negotiation. And I think this is something that I'm kind of learning with, like different mechanisms, different parts of games have different, how much do they change the game? Like a dexterity changes the game by a massive amount. Negotiation changes the game by a massive amount. Memory, again, like memory and negotiation feel like negotiation is, and even auctions, which is kind of An auction is the potential to negotiate. And good morning, Ian. I hope that you are well. And yeah, so yeah, back to my question of what your favorite negotiation game is and what your favorite politically themed games are. And yeah, I'd love to hear. But yeah, whatever, it's just one of those things that as soon as you allow table talk, as soon as you allow negotiation in a free player game or more, it is going to become a political game. It's going to become about the player interaction. It's going to become less about the strategizing and more about how much of an advantage can you get from other players. Because when I say to Nicole, hey, would you like to get 1 free money? And I'll take 4 money because you should be getting 5 money for your eyes, but I'll give you 1 of that. And then Nicole's like, yeah, I'll take the 1 money. I mean, that's a terrible deal for Nicole. And sure, it's 1 money or nothing, but, for me, it's 4 money or nothing. So, but yeah, I was just being an absolute despot in that game. I'm not going to lie. So over to you. What are you up to? You can share a button if you want to. Is there anything that you want to share? Anything you're looking forward to? Something you need to do? Fun and frivolous, super serious? Please do share. I promise I care. I am going to be tidying up a wee bit, having Tiz over, wandering out, pondering, working out rules, playing probably a solo mode, making some sort of dinner, having some people over, playtesting a solo mode with a couple of other friends, and then, maybe playing some other game. We might play Dice Hospital or Dice Theme Park that I got recently. Or we might play Cover Me, which looks like a potentially mediocre game, but it's really funny because the box looks like the front cover of a fashion magazine. And Trading on the Tigris, yes. Formerly known as Trading in the Mediterranean by Jeff Engelstein and Ryan Sturm. That's a good one. Today is Puhaz's birthday, and Board Game Arena sent her a huge bouquet. Lovely. Later we'll make sushi and have some cake and other stuff I can't say. Oh, is it that you can't say it because it's a surprise and you want to surprise Puhaz? I'm excited to hear the aftermath. I hope that you all have a wonderful day. That sounds super lovely. And Alex says, all games can be negotiation games if you house rule them enough. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, I mean, as long as there's more than 2 players, there's a strong case that basically any game with enough interaction where you can directly influence someone else, but it's all about, is there the potential for that negotiation? Oh yeah, if you house rule them enough. I'll trade you 3 blue trains for a locomotive. You know what? Why not? That's how new games get started. House rule it. House rule, do so freely and massively. Yeah, someone yesterday asked me, how do I get into game design? And honestly, house ruling's a great way to start. That's a game I would be interested to play. Ticket to Ride, where you can, but then also, as soon as you bring negotiation into it, you've got to be aware of the extra time that it takes. So you've got to bring some sort of bottleneck or restriction as well. Oh, Ian will give you 4 blue trains for a locomotive. That's a terrible deal. I mean, why do you need that locomotive so badly? And that was my main takeaway from listening to Brett Gilbert's interview. Once the game leaves the shop, it's 100% up to you how you play it. Yeah, 100%. And I think we listened to the same interview where Brett was talking about how they see games being played wrongly all the time, and then they go home and then they learn about the rules. Whereas I'm actually the arsehole who basically says, oh, I think that rule might be wrong. Can I double check the rules? And then I check it, and yeah. But yeah, to recap and wrap up before we finish up, seize the power. I'm excited to be working on it. I hope that it'll make people think about stuff, and I hope that it'll be something that, sure, during the game, and hopefully it's a fun time, and it's kind of a fun time stomping. It just feels really, really blooming weird to say that. It's kind of a fun time stomping on other people and discriminating on other people. But then you hopefully learn that, this is problematic. Maybe you start to draw parallels between that and real life. And I aspire to make something that will have serious ramifications. But at this point, honestly, I would be happy to just make something that's valuable and entertaining and hopefully doesn't do any harm. And maybe it'll spark a conversation. And even if in 95% of cases it doesn't, and people are just like, okay, this is a game. Oh, wow. And then they finish playing it. But as long as it doesn't do any harm, I think for me that's the most important thing. I'm happy for folk to hate it. I'm very happy for folk to hate the game, but it's the harm that I'm worried about. So if you want to check me out, I'm Stuff by Bez in all the places, stuffbybez.com/streams if you want to check out my future streams. And tomorrow I'll be chatting to Alan Paul about action retrieval. First, I'll be meeting Phil from Cosmoduck. And just to remind everyone, 22nd will be my special 700th show with Rita Modal, Kathleen Mercury, Rhea and Laurie, Liz Davidson, Tanya Pabuda, Tanya Thompson, Nikki Valens, Josie Finch, Rose Atkinson, Jessica Mederingham, and T Cares. And possibly one or two other people who I'm waiting on a last-minute reply from. But I'm super excited for that. And also I'm super excited for my Kickstarter and super excited for Bez Day with a free game. And I'm super excited for the LDEC design contest. Whether you've won or whether you haven't, please do feel free to think of something and chuck it in, and maybe even draw some letter shapes. You only need to draw 7 letters, and then you might win a prize. Feel free to share, spread the word, and thank you much. Thank you very much to everyone who's been here. And Jay Folsgaard says, the time sink is real with negotiation games. Yeah, 100%. Endeavour can become a real negotiation headache. And the worst review possible is surely, yep, that is a game. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that the worst review possible is that this has the potential to do actual harm. And, getting into Puerto Rico, where, for those who haven't seen, Puerto Rico is being completely reimagined. So the mechanics are identical. The mechanics are completely unchanged. So there's no reason to go off and seek out and buy the old version. But the new version, instead of importing workers via a ship, which, basically they're slaves, but no one ever talks about it. They're coming from the land. You're a Puerto Rican, and you're employing fellow Puerto Ricans, and you're trying to make stuff for other Puerto Ricans. And so it's about that 1 year after it's gained independence, but before it was taken over by America, just that one specific year where for a moment it was happy and it deserved to have a happy game made about it. And so I think for me, yeah, that is a thing. And Alex, are you replying to me or are you replying to Xate? Because if you're replying to me, then if you mean the worst review possible, as in it's a bad review, then I agree with you. But if you mean the worst review, as in suggests that the game is bad, yeah, maybe I misunderstood you on what you meant by the worst review. the review that I would least like to get is that my game is problematic and is actually causing harm. That would be my that's the thing that I would like to avoid. Sate says, or is this a game is also a bad review. I think that is this a game also tells you something about the game. It tells you that it's playing at the outskirts. And I think that that's something I would be proud to have made. I think that if someone's like, is this a game? Is this even a game? I'm like, yeah, I'm challenging people's conceptions of what a game is. I'm proud to have done that. And Jay Volsgaard talks about Endeavour being a negotiation headache. Endeavour depends on a certain amount of it to enable governorships and control. But anyway, unless people have something left to say, lots of love, and all I have left to say at this point is, of course, well, yep, try it out. Try out lots of things. Alex says, I really think it's contextual in certain communities. Almost anything can be labeled as harmful if it doesn't follow strict guidelines of what is acceptable. Yeah. Sure, but for someone to actually call out my game as harmful, like if someone was, oh, yogi is harmful because someone without stretching can damage themselves, and like it gets into that whole dinna be an umpty thing. I mean, you have to take some personal accountability. Like if someone slips and then smashes their light bulb, and take some personal responsibility, come on. But I think that if my game is propagating negative ideas or perpetuating negative ideas, like that's the worst thing. And I think that's the thing that you need to be wary of when you're dealing with certain topics like discrimination. But anyway, I've gone on longer than I wanted to. Solo, lots of love. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for coming and joining me. Hopefully see a bunch of you tomorrow when I talk about action retrieval with Alan Paul, or the day after, or whatever. And so much love. And for now, bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go to bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye, Xate. Have a wonderful day. And yeah, have a wonderful party. Bye-bye, Jay Folsgaard. Bye-bye, Ian. Bye-bye, Timmy. Bye-bye, Alex. And I hope you find your trade. Bye-bye.